and welcome to GKL's plug-in hybrid review of the new Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. So the big talking point with this new version is this bit, the engine. It's a completely new engine. It's a new 2.4 petrol engine, going away from the 2 litre that used to struggle a little bit under load and be very noisy. This is a torquier engine, so it delivers the power more smooth, particularly between the EV drive system and the combustion engine. Outside, there's not an awful lot changed from the previous model. It retains the same kind of front end, the same grille. They've changed the lighting system to LED lighting now on both regular and high beam, so it's a much clearer image whilst driving at night. From the outside, aesthetically, it doesn't really notice much difference. It's the same car from there on back. The plug-in points are exactly the same, so they're on the driver's side. Behind here, 2 points. One is your regular point, and the other one is your rapid charge point. So cables are stored in here. Only comes with a 3-pin slow charge cable. The battery is a 10 kilowatt battery, so it takes a little bit longer than it used to charge. Now all you need to make sure is, as well as this cable, you order additionally one of these cables. So this is a type 2 cable which most public chargers work off of, and if you've got a wall box at home, this will charge it about 80% faster than a regular plug. So, inside the car, as we start it, push button start, and not a great deal has changed from the previous model because they made so many updates to the previous vehicle. The big difference, is with this car is the engine. So they've changed the combustion engine completely. The old engine was good at the time, it did the job, but it lacked that kind of refinement that people now expect. And the transition between the electric and the engine previously was harsh, to say the least. The electric was so quiet that when the engine did come in, it came in such a kind of raspy tone that it put you off wanting the engine to come in. This time round, we've got a 2.4 engine instead of a 2 litre, which on the face of it you'd think, well, why would you do that? Well, it's to do with the type of engine. It's not particularly, it is a bit more powerful, but it's not any worse on fuel. So that's the engine now coming in, and it's a much smoother transition than it ever has been before between the two power units. So you don't get that. I mean, doing an uphill drive like this, you would get this kind of tone out of the current model and the older model, whereas this one doesn't have that. So that just makes the whole experience a nicer thing to do. A couple of other little extras are they've added a sport button to it, so similar to where the GTE button comes in on the Volkswagen products, where it will fire up both the electric and the combustion engine at the same time to give you a power boost, and that works. It's not a sporty car. It's never meant to be a sporty car. It is what it is. It's an SUV. It's big, 4-wheel drive capable family car. Still got the brake regeneration around the paddle shift. It still uses the 5 different settings, which it's still a bit overcomplicated, if I'm honest. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to give the driver the ultimate kind of choice in what they can do with the vehicle. But in reality, when you're driving it, it becomes you're focusing more on that than you are on anything else. They have put it on the gear stick though, so they have done 2 presets on the gear stick where if you pull the gear stick back whilst you're driving, it will automatically go into brake regen 3, which is sort of middle regeneration, and pull it again, it'll go to brake 5, which is the maximum regen. The only thing is then, once you've done that, to get back to like 0 for coasting, you've got to go back to the paddles. So yeah, it's better, but you know, it would be nice to be able to go back into coasting as soon as you can, as opposed to having to think about it, make it a bit more intuitive. But that's probably being harsh, if I'm honest. In terms of MPG cycles and CO2 and real world, I suppose, the whole system's been changed to do with testing. So those annoying kind of figures you used to get in brochures where it's like, oh, this will do 1,000,000 miles to the gallon. They've all had a complete revamp. That the test itself has changed, and this is one of the first vehicles to come out of that new set of testing, and it's, for Mitsubishi, it's pretty good news. The CO2's increased by 6 grams per kilometre, but it still keeps it under the magic 50 grams per kilometre. So for company car drivers, it's still one of the very best company cars you can get into for benefit in kind tax and personal taxation. Now for MPG wise, we're doing a urban cycle, as you can probably see around me, and currently we're on 205 to the gallon. Now that's largely because these, and they always have done, and they probably always will, these have a bias to electric power as opposed to combustion engine. A lot of the other hybrids you get, a lot of plug-in hybrids, they do 50-50, or they're a bit more combustion engine than they are electric. The Outlander has always tried to use its electric side first before anything else. So when you're in an urban environment and we've got charge in the battery, then yes, you do get the mega figures that they talk about. The flip side of that is when the battery's out, then you are driving an automatic 4-wheel drive SUV with a 2.4 petrol engine, and so therefore it does all the MPG that any SUV 2.4 petrol 4-wheel drive large car will do. So it's not great. So the key is keeping electricity in the battery whenever you can. So on the open road, it's a nice car. You could do an awful lot of miles in it. The suspension's firm but not ridiculous. They tend to be over soft, if anything. Good tip with the Outlander generally is when it's in regular drive mode, so it tells you on the dashboard in the middle, we'll show it a bit later, but it shows you on the dashboard the D and the B0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When it's in D, it actually defaults to, I think it's between B2 and B3, so you have to actually pull these paddles to get it to 0. Now when it goes to 0, that's coast mode, I would call it. So there's no friction from the motor, there's no regeneration from the motor, but there are some situations where that works, and it would be nice if that was easier to get to than it currently is. There is an assumption that when you've got it in drive, it's just drive. Well, in drive it does still brake regen a little bit, and it's kind of like a halfway house. It's kind of halfway between really coasting and not. So going downhill like this, I'm in coast, and then I'm pulling the left paddle to take it to like B3, traffic slowing down in front of me, so I'm using the engine to brake, and then I'm releasing the engine a little bit by using the paddle on the right, and then letting it coast completely now with no friction, no regen, but easier to coast. Now I'm stopping, so I'm going back to 5. So it's all a bit, you need to know it to do it, and you do get better range and you get better MPG from doing it. And like I said, you've got this even on the gear stick now, so pull it once, goes to B3, starts slowing you down. Pull it again, goes to B5, really starts slowing you down, but regenerates more electricity. And then when I just want to coast, I've got to go back to the, if I pull this stick all the way back and leave it, nothing happens, it's still in maximum regen, so I have to go back to the paddle and go tap 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 tap, and it goes back to 0, and now I can coast again. So it's a bit more involved. You get into it, it's fine, but it does take a bit of time to get into it.